Imagine this. The motorcycle brands you grew up trusting, the names that meant freedom and pride, now stand closer to collapse than anyone wants to admit. In this countdown, we'll reveal who's on the brink in 2025. And trust me, the last name will shock you. Stick with me till the end. You'll want to see it. Number 7. Norton. Founded in Birmingham, England back in 1898, it grew from a small machine shop into one of the most iconic motorcycle brands of the 20th century. Riders of a certain age remember Norton for its dominance at the Isle of Man TT, for the roar of its racing twins, and for the Commando, a motorcycle that came to define British engineering and spirit. Norton was never about mass production. It was about exclusivity, prestige, and a sense of national pride. Yet today, what was once a source of admiration has become a case study in how a proud brand can stumble to the very edge of collapse. In the early 2000s, new ownership promised to return Norton to its rightful place among the world's elite manufacturers. Enthusiasts placed deposits, dealers prepared for inventory, and the motorcycling world waited for the rebirth of a legend. What followed was mismanagement on a staggering scale. Reports surfaced of unpaid suppliers, undelivered motorcycles, and pension funds misused. Loyal customers were left empty-handed, and the courts stepped in. For a brand that built its identity on trust, craftsmanship, and racing honor, the scandals of that period inflicted wounds that cut far deeper than financial losses. They shook the very foundation of belief in Norton's name. By 2020, bankruptcy loomed. Many assumed Norton's story would end as another faded chapter in motorcycling history. But an unlikely savior appeared when India's TVS Motor Company acquired the brand. With serious financial resources and global reach, TVS committed to building a new headquarters in England, investing in jobs, and putting Norton back into the conversation. For the first time in decades, there was reason to believe that Norton might not just survive, but rise again. Yet survival is one thing, restoring trust is another. While factories have been rebuilt and small batches of motorcycles delivered, the shadow of past mismanagement has not lifted. Norton's challenge is not simply producing motorcycles. It is proving to the world that it can once again operate as a stable, reliable brand. Dealers remain scarce, especially in America, where older riders might admire the name but hesitate to buy into it without confidence in parts supply or long-term service. The brand is still associated more with nostalgia and scandal than with reliability. That is a dangerous reputation when competing against global giants with established networks, affordable options, and a consistent track record of supporting riders over decades. What makes Norton's situation so precarious is that it remains caught between two worlds. On one side, it trades heavily on heritage, the racing victories, the craftsmanship, the aura of exclusivity. On the other, it must compete in a modern market where riders demand value, reliability, and long-term support. Straddling that line has left Norton vulnerable. It risks being admired from afar rather than ridden on the open road. For older riders who still remember its glory days, seeing the brand struggle is a reminder that prestige alone cannot guarantee survival. Norton still exists. It is not yet a museum piece, but it teeters on the edge. Unless its new ownership can deliver more than promises, unless it can rebuild trust through consistency, strong support, and motorcycles that reach the hands of real riders, the brand may not survive the coming years. Norton carries the weight of over a century of history, but history alone will not keep a brand alive. But if you think that's bad, wait until you see who's next. If you've made it this far, you're clearly riding with us through the truth. Hit that like button to keep this story rolling and drop a comment with your own experience. Number 6. Moto Guzzi. It is one of the oldest names in motorcycling, with roots stretching back to 1921 on the shores of Lake Como in Italy. The brand has always stood apart, building motorcycles that carried unmistakable style and mechanical character. For riders of a certain age, the Eagle logo and the sound of a transverse V-twin meant more than just another machine. It meant a motorcycle with a soul. Moto Guzzi built its reputation on heritage, simplicity, and durability, creating a culture around its name that was less about mainstream popularity and more about loyalty and tradition. Yet for all its history, the company now finds itself in a precarious place, struggling to keep pace in a world that demands growth, innovation, and wide availability. Throughout the decades, Moto Guzzi earned respect not by chasing volume, but by building motorcycles that felt unique. It became a brand for riders who wanted to stand apart from the crowd, who valued heritage over hype and craftsmanship over mass appeal. But that niche approach has always left the company vulnerable. Its parent, the Piaggio Group, owns multiple brands, and the spotlight usually falls on Vespa or Aprilia, leaving Moto Guzzi to make do with limited investment. Sales volumes have remained small, dealerships are few and far between, and in many parts of the world, the brand has become more of a curiosity than a serious choice. In the United States, that scarcity is even more noticeable. Many older riders admire the name, but cannot find a dealership nearby to buy or service one, making long-term ownership a challenge. The biggest problem for Moto Guzzi has been its difficulty adapting to the modern motorcycle market. For years, the brand leaned on designs that traced back decades, while rivals evolved quickly, adding advanced electronics, safety systems, and broader model lineups. Moto Guzzi moved cautiously, often too cautiously. The result was that, while the company's motorcycles still carried undeniable charm, they began to look like relics in showrooms filled with high-tech competition. For its most loyal fans, that old-school identity was part of the appeal, but for younger riders and practical buyers, it looked like stagnation. A brand can live on passion for only so long. Even today, Moto Guzzi has a dedicated following who speak of its motorcycles with near familial devotion. They praise the individuality, the quirks, and the heritage that cannot be copied. But loyalty without numbers does not keep factories running. Global production has remained relatively small, and without a stronger dealer network or bigger marketing push, Moto Guzzi risks becoming little more than a heritage badge under Piaggio's wide umbrella. The company has announced efforts to modernize, including investments in its historic Mandello del Lario factory. But progress has been slow, and the wider market continues to move faster than the brand can follow. Moto Guzzi still exists, still produces motorcycles, and still holds a respected place in motorcycling history. But existence alone is not survival. For older American riders who value torque, comfort, and heritage, the brand continues to inspire admiration, but the practical barriers to owning one grow larger every year. Unless Piaggio commits to giving Moto Guzzi the resources and attention it needs, the risk is clear. One of the oldest names in motorcycling could slide quietly into obscurity, remembered more for what it once was than for what it builds today. The cracks run deeper than just one brand. Let's move on. The brands may be struggling, but your safety shouldn't. Upgrade your helmet, gloves, and boots today. Link is in the description. Number 5. Indian motorcycles. First established in 1901, it is older than Harley-Davidson, and once stood shoulder to shoulder with it as the two great rivals of American motorcycling. In its early years, Indian represented speed, innovation, and national pride, building machines that were trusted by soldiers, racers, and working men alike. But unlike Harley, Indian's history has been marked by repeated bankruptcies and failed revivals. The company shut its doors more than once, and for decades the name floated through half-hearted attempts at resurrection. It wasn't until Polaris Industries took ownership in 2011 that Indian had a true shot at regaining its place in the modern market. For a moment, it seemed like the brand was finally back. Polaris invested heavily in relaunching Indian, building a lineup that paired classic American cruiser styling with modern engineering and reliability. Many riders praised the effort, calling Indian the first serious alternative to Harley in generations. The brand tapped into heritage with bold styling and deep paintwork, while offering smoother performance and better technology than some of Harley's long-standing models. For older riders, the return of Indian felt like a revival of something thought lost. It gave them a choice: and competition between the two American giants heated up again. But beneath the excitement, Indian's challenges never fully went away. The dealer network remained far smaller than Harley's, making it difficult to buy or service an Indian outside of major cities. Without widespread support, long-term ownership became less practical, especially for riders who put down serious miles. The more serious wound came in 2023 when Polaris abandoned the traditional multicolor headdress logo that had defined Indian for decades. Officially, it was presented as modern branding and cultural sensitivity, but many loyal riders saw it as abandoning tradition. That emblem had anchored Indian's identity since its beginnings. Its removal felt less like progress and more like betrayal. Forums erupted, dealers struggled, and customers voiced anger, shaking confidence in the brand and undermining hard-won loyalty. Today, Indian Motorcycles finds itself in a precarious position. Polaris has the financial resources to keep the brand alive, but it cannot buy loyalty. Younger riders are often interested in performance and versatility over heritage, and Indian has not fully captured their attention. Older riders, the backbone of the market, are watching closely to see if the company remembers what made it special in the first place. Meanwhile, the brand's smaller footprint compared to Harley, Honda, or Yamaha continues to limit its ability to grow. Indian still builds motorcycles, still carries a century of history, and still has the potential to compete. But it must overcome a narrowing dealer base, an uncertain identity, and a market where loyalty is harder to earn than ever. Without a stronger strategy and a deeper connection to the riders who built its reputation, Indian risks slipping once again into decline. A name that once rivaled Harley-Davidson deserves better than that, but in 2025 its future remains far from secure. And believe me, the next name might surprise you even more. Number 4, KTM. This is a brand that riders all over the world recognize for its bold orange colors and its reputation for toughness. Founded in Austria in 1951, the company grew from a small workshop into one of Europe's strongest motorcycle manufacturers. Its identity was built on racing, competition, and the promise of being ready to race. For decades, KTM expanded steadily, moving from regional success in dirt bikes to global recognition in off-road and street markets. The name became synonymous with aggressive styling, raw performance, and European engineering that stood apart from the Japanese mainstream. But today, KTM as a brand is facing serious headwinds that threaten its stability, reminding riders that even the strongest names are never untouchable. The challenges go far beyond any one model. The entire company has been under financial strain. In late 2024, KTM's parent, Pure Air Mobility, was forced into self-administration, a restructuring process aimed at avoiding outright bankruptcy. That move signaled to the world that the brand had stretched itself too far. Years of aggressive expansion left KTM producing more motorcycles than it could realistically sell. Warehouses filled with unsold stock, development slowed, and layoffs spread across its European operations. What had once been hailed as a growth story now looked like a company struggling to keep its head above water. For a brand built on confidence and speed, the pause in momentum was glaring. KTM's problem is structural. Leadership pushed rapid global expansion, aiming to rival Japanese giants. On paper, it looked smart, but in practice, the brand overreached. With thin margins on smaller bikes and heavy investments, KTM needed constant demand. When the economy slowed, that demand vanished, leaving the company dangerously exposed. Even with these struggles, KTM still holds strong brand recognition. Riders respect its racing pedigree and its reputation for performance. But recognition alone does not pay the bills. For dealers, the financial uncertainty has become a problem. Inventory sits on showrooms longer, and questions about the brand's long-term stability make buyers hesitate. In a business where confidence drives sales, doubt can spread quickly. For American riders, KTM has always been more of a specialty brand than a household name. It doesn't carry the cultural weight of Harley-Davidson or Indian, but it carved out respect among those who wanted something distinct from the mainstream. That uniqueness gave KTM its edge, but it also limited how broad its appeal could be. Now, with its parent company fighting to stay solvent, KTM risks being remembered as a brand that flew too close to the sun. KTM still exists and still produces motorcycles, but its future is uncertain. A brand once celebrated for racing dominance and relentless growth is now being tested by the harsh realities of economics. For riders watching from the outside, it is a reminder that even well-respected names can falter when ambition outpaces sustainability. In 2025, KTM's survival as a brand is no longer guaranteed, and its once unstoppable momentum has slowed to a crawl. If that shook you, what's coming up will hit harder. Number 3. MV Agusta. It is a brand that carries a name filled with history, prestige, and Italian flair. Founded in 1945, it was born in the aftermath of World War II as part of the Agusta Aircraft Company's effort to survive in a new economy. Over the decades, MV Agusta became one of the most respected and admired names in motorcycling, with an unmatched record in racing. The brand won dozens of world championships through the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, and its machines were piloted by legends like Giacomo Agostini. For a generation of riders, MV Agusta stood for victory, elegance, and an uncompromising approach to engineering. The brand was never about mass market appeal. It was about exclusivity, performance, and the kind of motorcycle that carried both artistry and speed. But as the years rolled on, glory on the racetrack did not translate into long-term financial stability. MV Agusta has always carried a reputation for excellence, but its survival has been fragile. Unlike larger manufacturers with global networks, it remained a boutique brand. Its motorcycles were beautiful, expensive, and exclusive, appealing to collectors. That exclusivity also left the company vulnerable whenever sales slowed or investments dried up. In recent years, the brand has faced renewed uncertainty. Despite creating stunning motorcycles that earn praise for design and performance, MV Agusta has struggled to secure its footing in a market dominated by larger players. Its distribution remains limited, especially in the United States, where dealerships are scarce and parts support is thin. For many American riders, the name is recognized but rarely seen on the road. Without a strong presence in major markets, sustaining the business has become a challenge. The company has leaned on its heritage and image of exclusivity, but that alone cannot guarantee survival. By 2023, Pierre Mobility, the Austrian group connected to KTM, acquired a significant stake in MV Agusta, stepping in as yet another partner tasked with keeping the brand alive. This move underscored just how fragile MV Agusta's position had become. On paper, having a larger industrial partner should provide stability, but for many longtime followers, it also raised questions about whether MV Agusta can remain truly independent. Relying on outside ownership has become a recurring theme in the company's history, and each change chips away at the image of strength that a motorcycle brand needs to project. The risk today is clear. MV Agusta continues to produce motorcycles that are admired and respected, but the brand's small size, high prices, and limited reach keep it vulnerable. For riders who value heritage, style, and exclusivity, the name still carries weight. Yet in a market where financial strength and global networks matter as much as character, MV Agusta struggles to compete. It remains an existing brand, but one that is constantly balancing on the edge between survival and collapse. Unless its latest partnership provides more than short-term support, the brand risks becoming another legendary name remembered more for its past than its future. You've seen how deep the cracks run, and there's more ahead. Don't ride past what's coming. Subscribe now so you never miss the next breakdown. Join a community built on truth, loyalty, and the open road, because these stories are only just beginning and you'll want every chapter. Number 2. Harley-Davidson. It is without question the most recognized motorcycle brand in the United States, and one of the most famous in the world. Established in Milwaukee in 1901, Harley built its reputation as the name that defined American motorcycling. For more than a century, its brand has been tied to the sound of a V-twin engine, the look of chrome on long stretches of highway, and the idea of freedom itself. Generations of riders grew up knowing Harley-Davidson not just as a company but as part of American culture. In many ways, it became larger than the motorcycles it produced, representing an identity built around rebellion, independence, and pride in the open road. But in 2025, that identity is being tested. The biggest problem facing Harley-Davidson today is not a lack of recognition, but the weight of its own image. For decades, Harley was the motorcycle of the working man, the brand that represented attainable freedom. Yet over time, prices climbed higher and higher, moving the company away from its roots. The motorcycles are still available, but the entry point is much steeper than it once was, creating the perception that Harley is no longer within reach of the very people who made it successful. In a market where younger riders already hesitate to buy into heavy cruisers, high costs have made Harley a harder sell. The company still sells motorcycles, but it is doing so to a shrinking core audience that is growing older every year. Harley's identity, once its greatest strength, has also become a challenge. The leather, the patches, and the thunder of a V-twin used to symbolize freedom. Today, for many new riders, it feels like a uniform that belongs to a different generation. The younger market wants flexibility, individuality, and modern features, while Harley has held tight to its traditions. That loyalty to heritage has kept longtime owners satisfied, but it has also slowed the company's ability to evolve in a competitive industry. The danger is not that Harley will disappear overnight, but that it will slowly lose relevance if it cannot bring new riders into its fold. Global competition has made matters more difficult. Japanese and European brands continue to deliver motorcycles that combine performance, value, and technology at levels Harley has been slower to match. The company has tried to branch into new directions, with ventures into electric motorcycles and updated platforms. But these efforts remain overshadowed by the brand's reliance on its established image. For some, that consistency is comforting. For others, it signals reluctance to change. Either way, Harley is caught between honoring its past and preparing for the future, and that is a precarious place for a company of its size. Despite these challenges, Harley-Davidson still exists as a strong brand with deep roots. Its dealer network, loyal community, and global reputation ensure that it continues to sell motorcycles and inspire riders around the world. Yet the concerns about pricing, identity, and generational appeal remain. For older American riders, Harley will always be a name that matters, a symbol of strength and independence. But unless the company can adapt without abandoning its core, the risk is that Harley's legacy will outshine its future. And yet, the biggest shock is still ahead. Number 1. Suzuki. Established in Japan in the early 20th century, it began building motorcycles after the Second World War and quickly became one of the big four Japanese manufacturers. Over the decades, Suzuki earned a reputation as a dependable brand that offered practical machines at fair prices. For riders in the United States, Suzuki meant accessibility. Motorcycles that worked hard, lasted long, and delivered consistent performance without breaking the bank. Whether on highways, in small towns, or on racing circuits, the Suzuki name became a familiar and trusted part of the riding landscape. Yet in 2025, the company's motorcycle division finds itself in a difficult position, struggling with declining visibility, shrinking presence, and questions about its long-term direction. The challenges Suzuki faces are not about any single model, but about the strength of the brand as a whole. Unlike Honda or Yamaha, Suzuki has often taken a conservative approach to development, keeping older platforms in production for many years and hesitating to invest aggressively in new designs. While this made their motorcycles reliable and affordable, it also created an image of a company standing still. As other manufacturers rolled out updates and innovations, Suzuki began to look like it was falling behind. For older riders who value simplicity and dependability, that might still hold some appeal, but for the broader market, it has hurt the brand's relevance. In the world of motorcycling, perception is as important as engineering, and Suzuki's reputation has shifted from being a leader to being seen as a company struggling to keep up. Globally, Suzuki remains a diversified corporation, producing automobiles, marine engines, and industrial products. Motorcycles are just one division of a much larger business, and that has often left the motorcycle side with less attention and fewer resources. When budgets tighten, motorcycles are not always the top priority, and it shows in the brand's limited marketing and cautious product rollouts. For American riders, this means fewer dealerships, thinner support networks, and a brand that does not feel as present as it once did. What was once a household name on the open road now risks becoming a niche presence, overshadowed by competitors who are louder, bolder, and more committed to making motorcycling the centerpiece of their business. The decision to withdraw from MotoGP racing in 2022 was a symbolic blow. Racing had long been part of Suzuki's identity, reinforcing its image as a serious competitor with performance credentials. Walking away from the world stage sent a signal that the brand was retrenching rather than expanding, and it created doubts about how committed Suzuki still is to its motorcycle division. While it continues to build and sell motorcycles worldwide, the lack of clear vision has made both dealers and riders uneasy about its long-term stability. For older American riders, Suzuki still carries meaning. It is remembered as the company that built straightforward, dependable machines that delivered honest value. But memories alone cannot secure the future of a brand. In 2025, Suzuki remains on the map, but its reduced investment, limited presence, and declining influence make it vulnerable. The company still exists, but its motorcycle division stands at a crossroads. Without renewed focus and a stronger commitment to growth, Suzuki risks slipping away from the front lines of motorcycling and becoming a name recalled more for its past than its future. The road ahead is uncertain, and the brands we've trusted for generations may not all survive. But together, we can keep these stories alive. Subscribe now, share this video with a fellow rider, and join the conversation below. Stay part of the brotherhood, because the open road is stronger when we ride it together.